Hey guys, it's Zach with War on Retail and Built by Liquidation, and today we are talking about inventory. And most importantly, do you have good inventory? Do you have bad inventory? How to know what you have, and more importantly, learning how your supplier operates. It's super important before you open any kind of store, but especially a bin store, to understand how your supplier operates, what kind of product you're buying in the store, and to know if you're getting what you actually paid for. So we're going to walk around the store. I'm going to show you guys what we use in our store, our days of the week that we have, our falling price model. Cut that out. So, and then traditionally for bin stores, you're going to use Amazon Smalls. It falls into two categories. You have your LPN product, you have your FC product. And that's where we're going to start this video today. So your LPN product, LPN stands for license plate number. That's typically your higher value items, but also your customer return. So the benefit to using LPN in your bins is it's typically sought after product. This is product that's obviously been bought once before and returned, but you at least know somebody at some point wanted that item, so you can assume that someone else will want it in the future. LPN is typically a more expensive price per unit since it is a larger item, typically higher retail value. So you don't want to go too excessive in your bins, especially to start. If you're using LPN in your bins, that's typically going to be your $12, $10, or $8 starting price point, because your average cost on LPN right now in the market is around $3 a unit. So it's really important that you use this product on the days where you're going to net the most. It's really important to use this product on days you're going to get the most out of it. So we'll put this down for a second. LPN, besides just, you'll see it is usually the box is a little bit more beat up. Oftentimes, I'll show this a little bit closer. You'll see it come in these bags like this. They're clear bags, but they have this, usually this green color around it, and an LPN label, which is why we call it LPN, is going to look just like that. And that's how you know that you've got LPN product. But your supplier should be able to explain all of that to you if they know what they're talking about. Next up, and then we'll get back into it, but next up we have our FC product. FC stands for Fulfillment Center. This product is usually all brand new goods. The difference is typically it's heavy in repeating SKUs, meaning I might have 10 or 20 of the same item. It's also typically lower retail value units. So brand new, lower retail value, repeating SKUs are some of the important things you want to know about your FC product. Why is that important? Because when you're at a bin store, you want a lot of unique products. The FC doesn't always give that to you, but the nice thing about the FC is it's a lower price to you, lower cost to you. And that's why you want to be more aggressive with FC in your bins while you can, because your typical FC price per unit is around $1, $1.15. And so your margins are way better if you can use FC in your bins over LPN. The reason people struggle with that is they start their bins off straight LPN to try to get customers in their store, and then they get their customers used to the LPN product, and it's really hard to go from all LPN to all FC. So what we do, and my suggestion for people, is to layer your bins, right? You want a little bit of FC in the bottom because you know it's going to be left over for your $4, $3, $2 days, and you want to put your LPN heavy on top so that you make sure that it goes out on your higher dollar days. Now, our store model is 6-4-2, so we have a 3-day event style store, which means we don't give people that much time in our store in a given week. We do that to cause FOMO, fear of missing out. We want people to come in, treat this as an event, not a retail store. I think that's where a lot of people go wrong with the bin model, is they leave their stores open 7 days a week and people treat it as a traditional retail with your crap thrown in your bins. And that's not the point of a bin store. The point of a bin store is to move a lot of volume very quickly. And that's why we do a 3-day model. And that's why we can kind of get away with that $6 price point, because we will sell 2,000 items on $6 day. Whereas a lot of people on their opening day will sell less than 1,000 because they know they have all week to go find those items. So we've talked about LPN, we've talked about FC. I've given you kind of the standard definition of it and when to use it in your bins. So let's talk about suppliers and how suppliers processed or if you're buying raw product. So raw product, all of that means is the product still manifested from Amazon. It hasn't been gone through, touched. Nothing's been pulled out of the loads. Is that what you want for your bin store? Unless you have an e-commerce wing of your business, you do Whatnot, you do eBay, you do Amazon, my suggestion is not to go with raw product. The reason being, you're going to dump it all in the bins anyway. There's no point giving away iPads for $6 when you're paying 7%, 8% of a $500 unit. You're paying $40. You're just losing money super quickly on that product. Now, if you're going to process that stuff out, you're going to sell that online, by all means, do what you want. If you're a traditional bin store, you don't have a ton of money to get started, buy processed loads. It's okay. Processed is not a bad word. A lot of people want to say it is. It's not. Processed means someone else took in the raw product. They sorted out, at least in our case here, they sorted out all of the food, all of the clothing, and everything in the pallets that was worth $90 or more. And so you're sitting there going, well, why don't I want the $90 or better stuff? Because it's too expensive and it doesn't matter. And your customers are spending $6 and $10. You don't have to give them items that sell for $200 and $300. They're extremely content getting a $60 item for $10. They're content paying $6 on a $12 item. I think a lot of times it's the bin store owners that want it to be cool that they're giving away PS5s for $6. And you can do that. My suggestion, if you're thinking about doing that, just give it away. Make it a line giveaway. Don't force them to come in and buy it. And what happens is they associate, okay, well, all the PS5 is worth $10 because I can get it on $10 day. Nothing else in the bins is really worth that. I'll come back on a cheaper day. Just give the PS5 away out in line. It'll be a whole lot more fun, or put it in your mystery boxes. So, process loads. And how to know if you're getting what you paid for. So it's extremely important if you're a new bin store owner to inspect the product when it comes off the truck. Don't just look at the top. Look at the top, look at the middle, look at the bottom. Something to think about. If someone is processing and they're processing poorly or not in your favor, if they're going to hide bullshit in their pallets, they're going to hide the bullshit in the middle. They're not going to hide it on top, because when the truck gets unloaded, you're clearly going to see the top. They're not going to hide it in the bottom, because if you just dump the pallet, you're going to see what's on the bottom. Where you want to look to see if you're getting screwed is in the middle of the pallets. That's where you're going to get screwed. Not to say processors screw you. I'm just telling you where to look to make sure you're not getting screwed. It's really important. Are you buying from someone who is blending FC and LPN? A lot of times it'll be a blended pallet, and it's advertised as such. But the important questions to ask when people are blending their pallets is, what percentage of FC to LPN is in the pallet? So is it 80% FC and 20% LPN? Is it 50-50? And then it's important, and something to ask is your percentage based on volume, or is your percentage based on unit count? Because if I fill up a pallet half FC, half LPN based on volume, I'm going to wind up with about 300 pieces, 225 being FC, 75 being LPN. Volume-wise, that was 50-50. Piece count-wise, it's not 50-50. Again, that doesn't mean someone's trying to get over on you. It's up to you, the customer, the business owner, to ask the right questions. It's important to know what LPN looks like, what FC looks like, so you know what to look for in the pallets. Because if someone sells you on an LPN load and you're seeing FC labels, you need to call them out and say, hey man, listen, I got a crap load of FC. What can we do about it? And sometimes it's an honest mistake. Sometimes there was FC in the raw product, in the raw LPN load. It happens. It's important that you know what to look for so you can call your vendor out, so that vendor knows this guy knows what he's talking about, this guy knows what he's looking for, and there's never a situation down the line where they try to get over on you. It's important to also count your stuff. Count your pallets out. Not every time, not all 24 pallets, but make sure you know how many pieces you're getting. It's super common to be like, well, all 4-footers have 350 pieces in them. Sure, count one out. Make sure you're getting the piece count, because that's what matters at the bin store level. You're going off piece count. If you think your price per unit is $2 and you price your starting day at $8, come to find out your price per unit's $4, well, you're screwed. You're too far in to make any money. So it's important to actually count your pallets on occasion. Make sure you're getting the right amount of units per pallet. And if you're not, call your vendor up. Say, hey man, I know you said $3.50 per pallet. The last few weeks it's been $2.50 a pallet. What's the deal? And sometimes it's the type of product being processed. Some weeks it's just going to be heavier in what I like to call medium items, and it's kind of a bigger item that's going to fit less pieces in them. And then some weeks it's going to be super heavy and smaller stuff, and your piece price is going to go up. So don't automatically assume your vendor's screwing you over. It's a law of averages. Just make sure you're checking to make sure your price per unit is what you think it is. Okay, so we've talked about FC, we've talked about LPN, we've talked about where to put it in your bins, when to put it in your bins. We've talked about processing. I briefly mentioned a little bit ago that we buy processed product for our bins. They sort out the food, they sort out the clothing, and they sort out anything over $90. That's my suggestion for your bin store. Unless you have the capacity to process at a high level, buy processed product. It's so much easier and it's so much more consistent once you find a good vendor. Processed product, count your stuff, check your stuff. We've explained everything. We've explained what the product is. I've explained when to use it, how we use it. That is our video on LPN versus FC in a bin store. Thanks for watching.